Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review, which is the Ben Hogan PTX Pro. And the reason I picked this up, there's a few reasons actually, but number one is I've always wanted to try Ben Hogan. I've heard really good things about them, especially their players iron, so this is why I've got this. Uh, Second reason is because Ben Hogan is back. Yes. So if you've been following Ben Hogan over the past few years, in 2022, which I thought was actually quite upsetting, because obviously, the whole thing with this channel, very much into the brands and trying new clubs, etc. And Ben Hogan is always one I wanted to try. They're renowned for their irons. And it was real shame in 2022 when they went bust. Well, obviously the director of Ben Hogan at the time said it's not us, it's our parent company have gone bust. But anyway, they were closing down. But at the end of October, well, in the end, sorry, of 2023, so last year in October, they were brought up by Las Vegas Golf Company, which is fantastic because now they are back. And Las Vegas Golf Company, the same company now that owns McGregor, so Save McGregor, owns Ram, so Save Ram, and also owns Zebra as well. So another three companies there. And what's really good is that means potentially we could be getting some new Ben Hogan things coming out, which is quite exciting because they haven't released new models for quite a while now because they just weren't getting the funding. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that this is potentially it's not a very good iron because, as I've said with all these videos that I do, technology really hasn't changed that much over the years, regardless of what they say. If you're an average golfer, such as myself, you're not really going to notice that difference. If you scratch better, potentially then you might, but on your average golfer, you're not going to notice a difference between, say, a 2016 iron and a modern day iron. Well, let's be honest, 2016 iron is still a modern day iron. There's only so much you can do with that. It's not a big piece of metal. You can't do a lot with it. So there you go. So that's exciting. And then also, when it comes down to it, the price of these. This is a direct to consumer brand. So, you might be able to save yourself a lot of money by getting this rather than the brand new Mizunos, rather than, the brand new Callaways, etc. You can pick up a brand new set of these for very, very good price. And I'll discuss that at the end of the video in the ACS Golf Scale. Obviously, secondhand as well. You could potentially get a great price for them there. Well, even better price, to be honest, in the second-hand market, because a lot of people don't think of Ben Hogan, even though they've been producing fantastic irons over the years. Now, as I mentioned, this is their current, well, one of their current models. They still got the range they had just before they closed down. So even though this is technically a new club, because you can still get it brand new off their website, and if you're not new to my channel, you know that I normally film them sort of on a Friday. Sorry, so new clubs come out on Friday reviews, while older sort of second-hand, really good deals come out on a Sunday. I put this on Sunday because they have been around for a couple of years. So even though you can buy it brand new, they have been around for a few years, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing. So there you go. Now, before we have a closer look at the club, as always, and then we talk about the tech, then get to the range, and then obviously come back here for the ACS Golf Scale, do remember to hit subscribe to the channel so you do not miss upcoming reviews. Got some great stuff planned this year, so do remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you do not miss out. Now, as always, let's have a closer look at this club, which, to be honest, I think it looks really, really good. Anyway, let's do it now. So there you go, a closer look at the clubs. I showed you a view there of the 9 and the 6, just to show you if there's any real slight differences between your sort of scoring clubs and your longer irons in the bag. There's a little bit of a difference, but not too much. Now, let's get into the technology. Because this is current model, you can get it all off Ben Hogan's website, which I love. Always makes my life a lot easier when tracking it all down for you. Now, let's get into it. So PTX Pro irons utilize a three-piece multi-material, multi-step forging process. Forged irons, fantastic. This allows us to combine multiple materials into each iron head to deliver a consistent and linear center of gravity (CG) throughout the set. Each PTX Pro iron in the set was designed independently for optimum performance. So the idea is it's a progression set, which a majority of clubs are nowadays. Obviously, you're probably going to have a little bit more time. Well, actually, I'll continue reading, but the setup between this 6 and 9 is going to be slightly different, which all modern day clubs are. So there you go. Now, you have the longer irons feature a soft 1025 carbon steel body with a forged MS300 face. Co-forged dense tungsten weight is placed, I did mention tungsten there, so yes it is in here, is placed in precise locations on the toe to balance mass across the face and promote a straighter ball flight. With higher initial launch angles and more spin, this helps golfers hold the green on longer approach shots. So there you go. It's a pretty standard procedure really to put tungsten toes. A lot of the clubs do it because it really does help with that sort of forgiveness and obviously the ball flight as well. Now the shorter irons deliver a lower, more piercing ball flight to eliminate ballooning, because these I'll get into lots of these, but they're very traditional there, which of course can with this technology mean that the ball just goes up in the air, spins too much, doesn't go anywhere. So more piercing ball flight to eliminate ballooning and enhance distance control. They too incorporate a three-piece construction technique, but use lightweight titanium weighting co-forged between the carbon steel body and face material. So there you go. So you've got titanium in here, and you've got the heavier tungsten in there. Another benefit of our co-forged construction process is consistent placed center of gravity on the face of each club head in the set. So everything you sort of want from, let's be honest, your players' irons here with a little bit more forgiveness. Don't get me wrong, these aren't blades. Would I say they're players' distance? With the Lofts, I wouldn't. I think they're just sort of in that middle range. What these sort of remind me of a bit of the MP20 MMCs, if you remember that. So the new Mizuno Pro 223s. Yes. Oh no, there's a new one coming out. But anyway, I'm going off piece there, but you get the gist. So let's just go into design. Design and new PTX Pro irons offer forged feel and a feedback with today's most advanced materials and manufacturing process while retaining the undeniably clean, elegant head design and geometry that's pure Ben Hogan. Each iron represents a seamless visual transition from the outside, but a radical engineering transition inside from iron to iron. So that's the reason why they look quite similar. On the top here is because obviously that's what they want. They want them to look good. You get some irons, say the old T200s, for example, from Titleist, where you had that tungsten weight in the middle and it suddenly disappeared. Ben Hogan wanted the set to look beautiful the whole way through. So I cannot complain about that, and I think they've done it, to be honest. The size and shaping of the PTX Pro represents years of testing and feedback, with modern players seeking a higher, more stable ball flight than one-piece irons can provide. So there you go. They've done all the research here. And this is another point as well, which I thought they did quite well. So if you just see there, you've got a sort of a V on the bottom there. So V-sole. So PTX Pro irons utilize our enhanced V-sole design with a high bounce leading edge and soft lower bounce, trailing edge on the sole. You'll easily get the club head through the longest rough. Fantastic. I mean, that's the thing as well about it. You want a good sole, you want to make good connection with it. So it's nice when they've sort of looked into it. I mean, all irons do. Let's be honest, they all do the same. But it's good technology in there. So get through the rough, and the V-sole technology cuts through the densest turf types, even when you're in the middle of the fairway. I don't know where people are playing. If you're playing, well, actually, saying that, I played definitely in the winter. I tend to play some places where the fairway seems to be the rough, which I haven't been able to get out. So there you go. There's all the technology with it. Now, there's two finishes on this. You can get it black, and you can get it your normal sort of silver color. The black, when you have black irons, the finish with them can sometimes go. These are used, and to be honest, the finish is held up perfectly. In those close-up views there was none that I thought the finish had gone, unlike, say, something like this, which I will be reviewing at some point. So remember to subscribe to the channel. So we got Nike Vaporfly Pro irons I just picked up, and you can see there. You know, the black's starting to fade, it's starting to go from use. Definitely on the bottom there as well. So it's good. Like, I'm quite impressed by that, to be fair. The black has stayed black, which is quite impressive. And then the silver is nickel chrome. That's what they call it. Now going into these lofts, and as I mentioned, they're very traditional lofts. So the 4 iron is 22 degrees, 5 iron is 26 degrees, the 6 iron is 30 degrees, the 7 iron is 34 degrees, 8 iron is 38 degrees, 9 iron is 42 degrees, and pitch iron is 46 degrees. So very traditional lofts. I mean, majority of the time now you're looking at your 7 irons in these sort of player categories, unless it's a pure blade, being close to that 32 mark. So very traditional lofts. You know, they want to get that spin, they want to get that ball flying, they want it to get stopping on the green. So yeah, really happy with that. Going into fittings for you, just if you want to, for standard cost, I did have it. Because I've got to click on that first. There you go. Standard cost, when you go to stiff here, you can get dynamic gold shafts in here, KBS shafts, without actually having to pay anything extra. So some really good shaft options in there as well, which is quite good. And I had this at KBS Tour 90 stiff. So, again, even though it's straight to consumer, there's some good quality products in here. Okay, now there you go. Enough of that. Let's get down to the range. We'll go through all the figures with you, and then we'll come back in here for the ACS golf scale. Okay, see you in a bit.
Here I am down the range. I will say that I actually muted this video because there's a lot of chat around me. But when it comes down to the sound of the club, I just thought I'd just let you know that it's very sort of good, solid noise as you'd expect from an iron like this. So no worries there. It sounded exactly how it should sound. Now, getting to the figures, 9 iron on average, I had a carry of 133 yards, total distance 135 yards, ball speed 100, launch angle 27, and height 87 feet. So pretty much spot on what I would want my 9 iron to go. 6 iron, I had a total carry of 166 yards, total distance 173 yards, ball speed 118, launch angle 19, and height 80. So really interesting there with the figures and the height. So as I mentioned before with the technology, they wanted their sort of longer irons to really get up in the air to help with the stopping distance, which in this case it did. And then the 9 irons, so your sort of shooting irons, to be, well, basically come out lower, so that the idea they wouldn't balloon in the air, because obviously they're more traditional lofts. And I definitely found that, with the 6 iron, height was 80 feet on average, and the 9 iron was 87, so only 7 feet different there. And the 9 iron, only a 2-yard rollout. 6 iron had a little bit more, to be fair, on average. It did have that 7 yards, but in the end of the day, that's still not bad for a 6 iron. So overall, happy, and there's a fade for you right at the end.
So there you go, and pretty much exactly what I want my irons to be. To be fair, 6 iron 173 yards, 5 iron 135 yards on average, exactly where I want to be for me anyway. Some irons, might be a bit less, but for the current irons I'm playing at the moment, my HMBs, which that sort of hollow design, a little bit more distance, pretty much spot on, to be fair. So getting into the ACS golf scale, remember this is 5 categories: distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. Distance, even with the very traditional lofts, I'm going to give it a 3. So a little bit above average. Anything really that hits that point for me, so 117, 135, these are more distant, sort of played distance, I'd say the HMBs are. So to hit that point, very happy with. So 3 for distance, not bad at all, especially very good for those lofts. And I was getting some really good height with the ball and getting some good stopping distance as well. So very happy with them. So a 3 out of 5. I wasn't expecting the world to be lit up, because they're not game improvement, they're not distance irons, they're built for control with a little bit more forgiveness than your sort of blades. So there you go. Very happy with that. Feel, forged iron, felt great. 4 out of 5. Not the best forged iron I've ever felt, but it's it's a multi-construct. It's not just one singular piece, but it's still very nice. So happy with that. 4 out of 5. It did feel good. I knew where my miss hits were generally, and shaping the ball was relatively quite easy as well. So 4 out of 5 there. Moving on to looks. looks for me 4.5 out of 5. I think in the black, that is, in the black, I think maybe 4 if I was in that a silver nickel or whatever they call it. But black, I love black clubs, and I just think it looks really cool, looks great. I will say the actual length of these is quite slim, sorry, it's quite short. So if you want a little bit more confidence, maybe not go down this route because they are very short, really. Thickness wise on the top sole isn't that bad, but the length is a bit short and it's a bit daunting looking down at it, to be honest. So, but overall, I think looks 4 out of 5. I think it's very good looking club, but you definitely can tell it's for the better player, and that's when we get into forgiveness. So forgiveness is 2.5 out of 5. Now those averages, I sort of took out the really bad shots from myself, but believe me, they did drop down quite a bit. I mean, the pitching wedge, I think I hit one shot, it was 120. Don't get me wrong, it was a great shot, but still 120. And the 6 iron, I think I bladed one and it dropped down quite a bit as well. But they're not that forgiving. Don't get me wrong, 2.5 isn't that bad. Again, I mentioned earlier, MP20 MMCs I remind me of, and they remind me of that sort of level of forgiveness. So basically, these are aimed at your better players who want a little bit more forgiveness. Could I put them in a bag myself and get away with them? I probably could. Personally, being an average golfer, probably could. Handicap at the moment is just around the 10 mark. But would I want to? And that's the thing, personally, I just want that little bit more forgiveness. I probably wouldn't because of that issue. On my bad days, I want that forgiveness to save me, and I don't necessarily think these would. So 2.5 out of 5. Again, not that bad for what they are. Very good for what they are, don't get me wrong. But overall, they're not a forgiving club. If you're high handicapper or you don't hit your irons well, but you think they look really cool, I'd avoid them, to be fair, and get yourself something a little bit more forgiving. Now, on to the final one, price. So I've given this actually 4 out of 5. And the reason I'm giving it 4 out of 5 because I think it's actually quite a good deal. So as I mentioned before, this is direct to consumer. So you can pick these up over here in the UK. So 5 to pitching wedge for £601 with the KBS shafts, with Ben Hogan's grip, which I really like Ben Hogan's grips. For £601, that's not bad at all. If you're looking for something similar like this, like I've saying, the Mizunos, the 223s. I know they're releasing another one, but I can't remember if it's 243s. They're releasing them this year. But anyway, that sort of model, which I'd sort of say was similar to this, then you'd be looking at double that. Well, probably even more than double that, to be fair. So I think the value of them brand new is great. If you want to get the black finish, you can get it for £641. Over in the States, you're looking at just under $750. And then with the black, you're looking just under $800. So really good bargain. Because don't get me wrong, these are very, very good irons for exactly who they're aimed for those better players who want that little bit more forgiveness. They are very good. And I think if you're that type of player, you'd be really pleased with them, to be fair. And then you look on secondhand market as well, which this website, we're all about that as well. And channel. We're not website, channel. We're all about that as well. And on the eBay over here in the UK, we've got 4 to pitching wedge sold for £275, so around $350. Another one with the black finish, £329, so around the 410 mark dollars. 5 to gap wedge, just under £300, so again, $375, and then 5 to pitching wedge I sold go for £230. That's under $300. That's a great deal for these. A lot of thought's been put into these. It's good. I don't know how good the new production will be, but I'm assuming if the guy, he owns all these other companies, the level of production will still be very good on them because they're well made and they just look great and they feel great, to be honest. So really good deals out there for these clubs. So that's why I'm giving it 4 out of 5. Okay. So there you go from the ACS Golf Scale and my review of the Ben Hogan PTX Pro. Overall, I think they're a fantastic set of irons at a very, very good price, especially if you're looking brand new, and even better price if you're looking in the second-hand market. However, I will say, be aware of who is buying these. So, if you're a high handicapper and you can't hit an iron to save your life, I'd avoid them. if you're that aspiring player who can hit their irons really well, want, you know, the looks of a blade but without it actually being a blade, want the feeling of it as well, with that control but with a little bit more forgiveness, then I think these are a great shout. You know, they're not a massive, that's a 6 iron, remember. That's not a huge club head. Very nice. Okay, so there you go. There's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to hit that like button if you did. As mentioned before, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new ACS golf reviews coming out, which do come out weekly. And also comment down below, you know, have you played Ben Hogan? You know, if you have, you know, what do you think of him as a brand? Personally, for my first ever Ben Hogan test, I was very impressed. Really was. Okay, guys, I will catch you soon for the next ACS golf video. See you then. Bye-bye.